So I was comparing the Boris Johnson situation now to 1989, 1990 with Sir Anthony Mayer and indeed Michael Heseltine, who ultimately, of course, did not win the leadership as well. Are the comparisons valid, or are we not in that territory yet? Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. So I think we're in a very different situation. Boris Johnson is a very different sort of prime minister. He has been in, I think, the last couple of years, in fact, his entire premiership, a permanent state of crisis, dealing first with Brexit, then with, obviously, with COVID. I believe he's in what looks like a terminal position. I think that's fair, but I suspect that it's going to be a little while before we see any real strong challenge, groundswell of challenge towards his leadership.
And of course, the cabinet was trooped onto the airwaves, onto Twitter yesterday. I think they were all pretty much giving support to the Prime Minister. Apart from the mere matter of the Chancellor of the Exchequer, who funnily found a very important business down in Devon, so he couldn't attend PMQs as well. Is the challenge potentially going to come from quite close to home, i.e. number 11, if and when it happens?
If it happens, you'd expect so. So I think the days of the stalking horse candidate, the outsider, just to confront things, are long gone. I expect conventionally you would think it would be one of the bigger names in the party. I think there were two members of the cabinet last I saw, about 11 o'clock last night, who hadn't declared support by kind of close of play. But there's always a chance of somebody slightly outside the mainstream. So perhaps a Tom Tugendhat or someone like that to come and step in. What's interesting is that polling data suggests that outside of Boris Johnson, electorally, there isn't much of a boost outside of Rishi Sunak for anybody in the cabinet. So it really is a bit of an open field, I would suggest.
Dr. Dacombe, can I ask you about the reaction out there in the electorate? Because there was some reporting yesterday about Boris Johnson's own constituency showing rage and sympathy. I think that sort of sums it up more broadly. People were outraged that they were not able to do things, in particular cases, missed out on major moments in their own family timeline when Boris Johnson was out embarking upon this drinks party. But does sentiment change? Because COVID's been interesting and there's been so many twists and turns, and I think a lot of people are free to admit too that they had mini breaches here or there during lockdown as well. So what do you make of the sentiment around this particular event?
Yeah, so I think he's fairly safe in his own constituency. I think it's undoubtable, though, that the public reaction has been significant. I think this is the issue for Boris Johnson, is that he doesn't have a particularly strong foundation of support within the party. I mean, he's not particularly popular amongst his own MPs. And so the danger of kind of electoral problems for the Conservative Party overall really does kind of hang over his head. If he ceases to become electorally helpful to the party, I think then he's going to be in real problems. And that's what the polling data is telling us. And I think it's interesting. Last night I saw a poll that had the Labour Party with a 10-point lead over the Conservatives. Well, I mean, those numbers are obviously soft, but I think that's going to ram home the point pretty strongly. It's going to be interesting to see how things go in the next few days, for sure.